Singapore has always been able to change and adapt in order to remain competitive. Still, the passing of statesman Lee Kuan Yew falls at a time that is particularly challenging, both domestically as well as internationally. We're joined in the studio by analyst Sam Chester from investment management firm Clarity Capital for a look at what might lie ahead for the island city-state. Mr. Chester, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, good to be here.
So what does lie ahead? What's going on with Singapore these days?
Well, I think that with the passing, the moving on of the first statesman, the prime minister for over 3 decades of Singapore, it's a good time to look at his legacy and to consider how his legacy will impact the country. There's a great quote. One of the things you can certainly say for the late Prime Minister Lee was that he was a man who very much spoke his mind. And a number of years ago, he famously said, even if I'm being lowered into the ground and if I see things are not going right here, I will get back up. That said, I think most people, when they look at his legacy, as the video said, they tend to look at modern day Singapore and they look at the very low corruption in the government. They look at the social order. They look at the rule of law. I would agree with that. I think it's interesting, perhaps, we can discuss 3 issues in particular. One, looking at the economy, which famously took the country from a third world economy to first world. 2, looking at the diplomatic angle, which when Singapore was established in the late 1960s, every country around it was a rival. And today, you see how Singapore is very close with both the US and China and all of its neighbors. And the third is to look at the democratic legacy, which, of course, Singapore was the model for much of East Asia, including China, with the sort of democratic authoritarianism, which China, you could say, is edging towards. So those are 3 things I think it's interesting to consider. Briefly, I would say that on the economic angle, Singapore today is dealing with a transition to try to raise productivity. Its productivity is actually fairly low since its economic success has been based upon investment from abroad and from workers coming from abroad. So they have economic challenges which Lee's successors will, including his son, the current prime minister, will have to work with. On the diplomatic angle, I think what's very interesting is that to see how can the successors to Lee, who don't have his sort of personal charisma and personal relationships in both Beijing and in Washington, how can they maintain that difficult balancing act between the two major powers in the region? And thirdly, on the democratic angle, as was also mentioned, that's going to be the biggest challenge of all. Professor Francis Fukuyama, the American expert, has said that Lee was a good emperor. Well, as we know from history, it's very difficult to find many good emperors in any system. A country that is blessed with having one good emperor is not always so fortunate to find others as well.
Right. And where does this leave Singapore? I mean, considering that we're having this shift to a completely different leader, really. I mean, he's essentially already been on the stage to some extent. But as you mentioned yourself, there are serious challenges facing Singapore. Where do we see this going from here on?
Well, there's no question that from the country that Lee not just inherited but helped develop in the 1960s to what we see today, it's an entirely different position. The successors, Singapore today is not only a first world country, but it's a first world country that is the center in many ways, the corporate business center for the most thriving economic region in the world of East Asia. So I think that as long as you're going to see the East Asian economies continue and develop, and as long as Singapore maintains a primary role in that, then you're going to see its economic success continue, and the social order will probably continue as well.
It's been interesting, actually, also to mention the fact that Singapore is this city-state, so to speak, that has established itself, even though it didn't have any natural resources, not unlike a country like Israel, which, of course, today has natural resources. But what is the special relationship there?
So it's actually fascinating, and you use the correct word, saying special relationship, because that's what both leaders in Singapore and in Israel have pointed to. For many years, it was kept under the radar. There were media reports about the thriving military relationship between the two countries, which, as you correctly pointed out, have a lot of natural similarities. There's sort of isolation from their neighbors at one point, particularly early on. It wasn't actually until Lee's autobiography in 2000, when he wrote a book that acknowledged for the first time that not only had the Israeli military helped the Singapore armed forces, but they had essentially designed the army from the ground up completely. There's a famous anecdote in his book that recalls that in the first few years of Singapore's independence, they used to actually march in the military parade to Israeli songs in Hebrew. So the two countries have had a thriving relationship, like many places where Israel's developed external relations based on the military. What's very important today for that is that as Israel's looking more and more to develop economic relations in East Asia and even in Southeast Asia, what Singapore provides them with is a platform. It provides them with a gateway into this thriving region. I think for many countries and corporations around the world, when they look to engage the region, they say perhaps Shanghai, perhaps Hong Kong, and perhaps Singapore.
Right.
I think what Israeli business and political interests realize is that from an Israeli perspective, Singapore has an additional advantage due to that history, which Prime Minister Lee was the one who helped develop it and make it happen.
Obviously can serve as a springboard for Israel as well. Thank you very much, Sam Chester from Clarity Capital, for joining us in the show. Thank you.
It's a pleasure as always.